Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to the Moor Analytics Afternoon Energy Podcast for June 11th going into the 12th. We'll start off with the natural gas, which continued to come off today. Okay, we were bullish from 272.50. We rallied 671 ticks, a number of other bullish calls in here, all of which are on hold. And then on June 1st, we held exhaustion at 338.70 to 339.60 with a 339.60 high and rolled over to 305.40 now. And then the trade below 321.80, I said projects this downward 120 ticks plus. We detained 146 of that coming into today, and then from 307.20 down to 305.40, obtained another 18 ticks. Decent trade below 307.50 is going to warn of continued pressure. But if we break below there decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. I would be aware that 302.40 to 3 even 10 is an area of final possible exhaustion if this is a correction against the move up from 289.30. If we settle below that, it's a sign of continued weakness and a likelihood we'll probably head back down to test 289.30 and maybe lower. I had also said that the failure back below 320.40 to 070 now warns of decent pressure. And again, we've seen that down to 305.40. If we break below 307.50 decently and back up through it decently, look for a decent short covering to come in and a likely rally for days. I maintain gap higher tomorrow. We'll leave a minor bullish reversal below. Okay, in the crude oil, I'm not going to go over all the higher time frame stuff right now, but we did held exhaustion with a 105.21 high, rolled over $19.26. I warned if this continued in a full correction, the minimum target was 86.27, and we took that out with an 85.95 low and an 85.81 low now. The break below 97.95 also had us bearish. We also had bearish calls below 96.74. On June 4th, we left a minor bearish reversal above. I said that likely warned of pressure for days. We've come off from 93.04 down to 85.81. And then this morning I said the break back below here, 92.21. Now warns of renewed pressure. And I said this morning that the crude and products have failed formations overnight, and I expect this to sell off today, which we saw for the rest of the day. Decent trade below 86.67 is going to warn of decent pressure. If we break below there decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. Decent trade above 92.52, minus 3 per hour, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. will warn of decent strength for at least $5. And in the RBOB, this is poised for pressure overnight. We're already selling off here. The RBOB, the trade below 352.26 has brought in 55.5 cents of pressure. Number of other bearish calls in here. Then the trade back above 301.87 warned of short covering. We saw short covering up to 318.35 before failing back below this line. This line got chopped through a couple times, which is very rare, so we're taking this out of here. Decent trade back below 303.49. plus 3 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. will warn of continued pressure. In the heating oil, not going to go over all the higher time frame stuff. We held exhaustion above with a 461.29 high and rolled over $1.35.26. Number of other bearish calls in here. The failure below 393.86 brought in 49.2 cents of pressure. A couple other bearish calls in here. And then this morning we had failed back down through this line, which I said warned pressure. The break back below 361.12, and we have seen pressure down now to 345.78. Decent failure below this formation. Let me just see if that's a decent failure. I don't think so. A decent failure below this formation right here at 350.63, plus 1.4 per hour starting at 6 o'clock p.m. will warn of decent pressure. Give me a second here. A decent penetration in there overnight. Bear with me. Is going to be 553 ticks. If you break below there decently and back up through it decently, look for decent short covering to come in. I would not wait for a pullback on that, by the way. Just sell it right on the breakdown. Decent trade above. Sorry, that line comes in at 350.63 as of 6 o'clock p.m. Decent trade above 366.56. Minus 14 per hour will warn of decent strength for at least 15 cents. And the Brent, the trade below 113.13 brought in 23.56 cents of pressure and some more than that today, down to 88.58. Number of other bearish calls in here. We had pulled back to this but didn't hit the stop and kept rolling over. That was the trade below 96.31. I'm sorry, that was over here. But the trade below here is also brought in pressure. We didn't hit the stop above it. Sorry for my pausing here. Okay, in the gas oil, failure back below 1340.75 brought in 352.75 of pressure. Number of other bearish calls in here. The trade below 1254.64 brought in 258.64. Number of other bearish calls in here. We had broken below this formation, came just shy of the stop here, and then rolled back over in here. Decent trade below 10.09, 10 even 93, excuse me, plus 2 per hour. Break below there decently and back up through it decently. Look for decent short covering to come in. And the cadence going into tomorrow is the RBOB is the strongest of the three, the crude oil in the middle, and the heat the weakest of the three relative to one another. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on tomorrow's podcast.